Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Uh, okay, let's wait for Elena to enter the room and then we will start with your introductions. Okay? Okay, everybody open your cameras and microphones. I think there's one of the students missing, but for the sake of this chat of this event, we're going to start. And I'm going to introduce myself. I'm Susana Leventhal. I'm a TOK teacher, workshop leader, uh, assessor, and retired now from all the classroom, but not from the rest of it. So feel free to comment anything about it. And at the end, if we have time to chat, we'll talk about other things. Okay? So let's start in the order I see you. Nicolas, can you introduce yourself, where you're from, and which are your expectations of this chat?
Okay, hello everybody. My name is, well, as you can see, it's Nicholas, and the Q stands for Quintero. I am from 10th grade. I am from the Gimnasio Norte School in Bogota, Colombia. I was born in the United States, but I am living here in Colombia with my family, of course. And honestly, I don't really know what to expect from this. I'd love to see what everyone has to say. I want to, see if we can find connections and discuss about what we have found. And I just really want to, be able to make conversation and just make it easier about what we've learned and what we're going to talk about today. So yeah.
Okay, thank you, Nicholas. Now, Erin.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm from Naval Preparatory School, which is in the United States. For today, I mostly just want to hear out everybody's opinion, um, and just have like a very open discussion about today's topic.
Okay, thank you. Next one is Ana Camila.
Well, hello, my name is Ana Camila, and I'm from Colegio Internacional Terranova in Mexico. And I just want to say I'm looking forward to know everyone's opinions on the topic because it kind of calls my attention. And I would also like to say that my classmate, who is also in this debate, Elena, is having some connection issues right now.
Okay. Okay, Gretel.
Well, hi, my name is Gretel, and I'm from Colegio Williams de Cuernavaca. And today I don't have expectations whatsoever, as in I'm just really excited to be here and share ideas with you guys. And well, I hope we get to know better other people's point of views, and yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Santiago?
Hi, my name is Santiago. I'm from Colegio La Paz, Chiapas, and I expect of this debate that we can share different opinions of the theme.
Okay, and Elena? Turn on your microphone, Elena, please. Or are you still having problems connecting in this chat? Yes. If you're in school and your classmate is also there, maybe you can go with join her. Well, it freezes, so I don't know if you can get some help from coordinators or join your classmate. Are you together, and Camila, or are you in the same building?
She's moving spaces, so we have less issues.
Okay, Elena, try to speak. Let's see if we can hear you. Your microphone is off. Well, I think that she's still having problems. Well, congratulations, because whatever you're expecting is really what you said. Okay, you're TOK students, so you cannot expect something in a box. So we're going to chat here. The question is really very ambiguous. I hope you prepared with some definitions of it and that you're ready to discuss. And well, I need just to remind you that you have to raise your hand in order to participate. Participation shouldn't be more than 2 minutes in order not to stop the discussion. If it's longer, no problem about it, because you're just a few students, but try not to try not to be very explicit, and try to question your classmates and try to make a dialogue. Okay, you have to be respectful in your comments, that those are not only these dialogue rules, but these are TOK and IB rules. So are there any questions before we start? No? Everybody clear? Okay, then who wants to start with telling me how did you interpret the question? What we're going to do right now is see what do you think about the question? Yes, let's unwrap it. So who wants to start? No volunteers? Okay, Santiago.
Well, I interpreted the question like knowledge is a powerful tool that can either eradicate or perpetuate the stupidity. The access to knowledge fosters intelligence, allowing society to progress into the future and develop new ideas. Through the acquisition of knowledge, people can make more informed decisions and raise awareness of important issues, creating new environments that benefit everyone.
Okay, I know you're reading something, and I know if everybody feels the same way. I didn't hear it very clearly. Can you just wrap it up and say it in a few words?
Uh,
I don't know
that
if it's my computer or everybody's computer. Did everybody hear it well, or you had problems hearing? So. Okay, just try to wrap it up in a few sentences, please.
Well, the knowledge is a very powerful tool to eradicate or perpetuate the knowledge.
Okay, all right. Now, the only thing is, I would like someone to explain to me, what did you understand by stupidity? Who wants to explain? Guero. Okay.
Well, I've got the where the word was born from, and it's estupere and stultus, which come from Latin. And estupere means to say paralyzed, and stultus, it's basically stillborn. And so for the question, I think like the answer could be both depending on how we see it. Because, for example, I think intellectual egoism is one of the main reasons we can't evolve our ideas within society, because we want the power of knowing more, and that makes us stupid even though we're the knower. And well, that's like the magic of knowledge, because as it isn't such a difficult concept to understand, we make it hard because there's humanity in between the knowledge. And I think, well, coming back to the question, I think a question that we should ask ourselves to know if we could end stupidity or not is, how do we recognize ourselves as stupid?
That's a very good question because, okay, I'm not sure I understand what stupid means because, okay, remember, and I'm going to give you a very, an example that everybody knows, okay? How many years ago did we think that the earth was flat? And now we know it's stupid. Or is it stupid? How can you value what's stupid or what isn't stupid? So did anybody disagree with Gretel's comments, or do you want to add something else to her comments, Nicholas?
Okay, well, first, I don't agree, or I don't disagree with her comments, but I guess, in my opinion, when I just first saw the question, I guess I just read stupidity and just referred it to stupid, so as an insult. So I guess most of the time, we humans just use the word stupid without any actual thinking about the consequences of what using an insult or telling someone that they're stupid can actually do to them. Because, well, from what I have understood as stupid, it's that it's like almost an attribute of lacking common sense, or it's usually referred to someone who just doesn't really take into account the factors of a situation, and they just rush into the situation without thinking, and in the end just take something completely else out of the situation rather than logically thinking and quote unquote not being stupid.
Okay, Aaron, do you agree with Nicholas' comment?
I would agree with Nicholas because like I personally also would like connect the word stupid with just lacking common sense and not fully rationally thinking everything through.
Mhm. So is calling someone stupid always an insult? Do you agree that it would be an insult or not? Yes or no? Yes, Nicholas?
Well, I guess I would just base it on the perspective of each person and the situation that's currently going on, because I guess most of the time an insult can be constructive criticism, and it's not always just something to hurt the person. I guess I am contradicting what I just said, but I guess, yeah, it just really depends on what you're talking about, because sometimes saying you're stupid can be a way of telling the person maybe you should reevaluate the decisions you're making and see it from a different perspective.
Okay. The only issue here is, are you disrespectful when you use the word stupid or not? Yes. So we need to see how to say, okay, you're a little bit stupid, but not saying stupid because he will be offended, he or she will be offended. So it's what I wanted just now is just to unwrap the terms. And there is another term that is difficult to understand. Did anybody figure out which one is it? Because you're in theory of knowledge, you know what knowledge is. Okay, now we just define stupidity, and are there any more terms that should be defined here or not? Yes, Nicholas?
Well, perpetuation is one, because, well, I guess
Perpetration, exactly.
it's
Mhm.
connected directly to the stupidity word. And, well, from what I've understood around the word of the word perpetuation, it's the act of continuing or following up with an idea. It doesn't specifically have to be a negative or positive. It's just you know taking a side on an idea and just uh, staying with it.
Exactly. Very good. Okay. Are there any other comments on the word perpetration? Ana Camila, are there any comments about what Nicholas just said?
I think I've got no comments because I agree on the idea that perpetuation is a continuation or a preservation of a situation or an idea, and it does not necessarily have to be positive, just like he said.
Okay. All right. Any other comments before we start with the question? Are there any other terms that we need to define, or are we okay? Or are we through with them? Yes, Santiago?
I think we need to define the word eradicate because we can eradicate in a big term or a short term the different things, and I don't think that the word eradicate is well defined.
Okay. Eradicate also. Okay, we have here two terms that at first don't seem contradictory, but they could be according to what you're just saying. Okay. Eradication and perpetration. Yes. So do we eradicate something and that means that we're not going to perpetrate it, or are they terms that are not related? What do you think? Elena?
I think that those two terms can be linked to each other because if you eradicate something, then you're not perpetuating it. And I think that perpetuating something is sharing it and spreading it around, and eradicating it is just kind of eliminating it.
Exactly. So here we have a very troublesome question that at the beginning maybe we didn't see that troublesome. Okay, so who wants to start answering the question? Okay, let's see, Gretel.
Okay, so as I said, I think knowledge can do both depending on how we treat it. I also want to clarify that I don't think stupidity is the lack of common sense, but the lack of motion in your ideas and the lack of ability to evaluate your ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, well, I think for answering the question, I think we can do both eradicate and perpetuate stupidity and knowledge. But that's the main thing. Like, I think stupidity ends where evaluating starts. And yeah.
Okay, let me ask you something to follow up. Okay, if we eradicate stupidity, do we get knowledge?
I think you need knowledge to eradicate stupidity. And
Yes.
yeah, I also think the answer to the question that you just asked is yes.
Can you give me a concrete example?
Of which of both questions?
Okay, in the one that you just answered. If you use knowledge, you can eradicate stupidity. Give me an example.
Well, for example, what you said about the earth being flat, what I said about the motion of ideas, if you know you were wrong and you recognize it and you start moving on, or the idea you were stuck in, but you realize you were wrong and move on to the new idea you got. Am I being clear? Sorry. Well,
Well, no, yes. Okay, you were clear, but I would like a different examples. Does anyone think of a different example to illustrate what Gretel just said? If you agree, if you agree with her, if you don't agree, say why not. Okay, there's Dr. Lupe is asking, what is the relationship between stupidity and misunderstanding? Okay, so keep in mind that question, but first let's see. Okay, Nicholas.
Okay, well, answering the question of Dr. Lupe, the
Uh-huh.
relationship between stupidity and misunderstanding, in my opinion, would be that um, they're both used in the same context. If I don't know if that makes sense, but when I think of misunderstanding, I think of, let's say, mixing up dates, or someone tells you, "Yo, we have an exam on the 20th of February," and then you misunderstand it and you think it was the 22nd of February or something like that.
Mhm.
And stupidity, and I feel like that can be related in a sense if you really just know the situation, because in a sense you can call someone stupid if they mess something up. Well, it's not something that should be done because obviously it's not
Yeah.
like nice. But I guess if you take into account the actual definitions of stupidity and misunderstanding, then you could uh, call someone stupid for misunderstanding something due to, well, the situations or the context.
Okay, but here we are dealing with a relationship between ethics and knowledge. Okay, because if you misunderstand something and someone else calls you stupid, you already said it, it's not right. It's not right in any sense. Okay, but we do it. We do it in real life. So, okay, in order not to do it, what should we understand about the situation? I don't know if I'm being clear about what I'm asking. Yes or no? You're too quiet. So, what I mean is, yes, okay. Salvador says something here. You can read what I'm seeing, right? That Salvador says the phrase "when you make a mistake, you learn about it" refers that the knowledge came from the stupidity. So, in which extent does knowledge need stupidity to exist? Okay, that's a more elaborate question than the one that I tried to make, but it's okay. I know that Nicholas wants to answer, but I would like everybody else to take part before I give a chance again to Nicholas. So, Aaron, would you want to answer what they are asking? Yeah, well,
I would think that stupidity and knowledge end up going together because, like, we like how the quote it was that we learn from our mistakes, and when you learn from your mistakes, you end up gaining more knowledge. Is how I would interpret it. Um, and then, like, stupidity and the connection with misunderstanding is that when you misunderstand something, that's when you gain new knowledge. Like how Nicholas said that, or when he used the misinterpretation of dates, you end up learning something that you probably didn't know prior, and that is
mhm.
from the label of stupidity.
Okay, very good. Santiago, you wanted to say something else.
Well, of the phrase, I think that we need the stupidity to the knowledge, because with some stupidity actions, we can have a knowledge acquisition in our life.
Mhm. Okay, and now Nicholas.
Okay, so I think my answer is kind of related to what Aaron, I think that was your name, sorry, Aaron said. What I had researched about the actual question is that in terms of the connection between knowledge and stupidity, uh, I don't think stupidity, I don't think they would, well, I don't think one can exist without the other. And that's also relating to what Aaron said about the phrase of when you make a mistake, you learn. Because, well, knowledge is the act of learning something. Let's say in your school, you learn something, you gain knowledge. And stupidity, well, if you don't think about it in a negative way, it's something that can help you because making mistakes, in the end, does help you learn. And well, actually answering the phrase, when you make a mistake, you learn about it. Um, I guess knowledge and stupidity have a connection that basically is always um, tangled, and they can't actually be separated from one another. And if you actually want to define or define the terms knowledge and stupidity, or knowledge, only knowledge, and only stupidity, you have to know about both of them.
Okay. All right. Ana Camila, you wanted to say something. Okay. Yes or
Yes, to answer the question, I would like to say, first of all, I agree with what everyone has been saying. And while knowledge can be acquired through education, observation, and reasoning, I think that stupidity can also serve as kind of a tool for learning because mistakes, which are frequently the result of poor decisions, can provide direct experience that reinforces knowledge, kind of like in a way that theoretical learning sometimes can't.
But what about things that we learn from our grandparents or from our parents and we think it's knowledge and then it becomes something very stupid? I'm going to give you an example that happened to me. When I was a kid, when I tried to make a sandwich and I cut the bread in half, my mother always said that I need to take out all the inside crumbs because if not, all these get mixed in the stomach with I don't know what, and you get worms. So I always thought that was true. Okay, that you cannot eat what's inside the bread, just all the I don't know if it makes sense. Okay. In Mexico, we say bolillo, but I'm not sure that Ern or Nicholas would understand. It's the sandwich that you make. You cut the bread in half and you take out what it's inside. Are you understanding what I mean with that? Okay. So my mother always told me that. And I thought it was knowledge. Okay. When did I understand that it was stupidity? When I became a mother, I did the same thing and I went to the doctor and told him, this kid won't stop eating the inside of the bread and I'm afraid he's going to get worms. And the doctor laughed. Okay, he didn't call me stupid, but his face was calling me stupid. Okay, so has anything like that happened to you that made you learn from stupidity or not? Can anyone give me a concrete example? I want to lower down the level of discussion to concrete examples to see if we are on the same track. Gretel?
I will use climate change as my example because us humans know we're basically guiding ourselves to extinguishing,
Mm-hmm.
and we are not like we still follow the path we've been following through the years, and we know we're getting a worse um, we're getting worse day by day, and we don't move on the idea of getting the newest iPhone or
Mm-hmm.
building more stuff to make the world look cool because I think that's kind of a good example because we know we're doing things wrong and we just don't change it.
Okay, but remember that there are many scientists that are denying climate change. Yes, Nicholas?
Um, Another example I would use is most of the time it comes from my mom, and it's about the fact that being too close, or yeah, being too close to the screen and staring at it for a long time can affect eyesight. And then one day I went to the, I'm not sure what the name is, but I guess I went to the eye doctor, and she asked him that, and he said like, no, it has no relation between staring at a screen for too long and getting worse eyesight. And I guess in that moment, I guess I just looked at my mom with the face of like, you've been lying to me the whole time. And I guess in a sense, I never actually believed her, but, and well, I guess I always believed that, yeah, maybe she's just lying. And then when we went to the doctor and he said that, I was like, yeah, I always knew.
You see? Well, that's the power of authority. Yes, we're talking here about the different kinds of authorities, and we're talking about how it affects you and how from one idea to another it could lead to stupidity. Okay, it's going to be Santiago, then Ana Camila, and then Gretel. Okay.
An example I can give is one thing that my father teach me, that was the dessert always go to the heart, because, and that is stupid because the dessert obviously go to the stomach, but that was one thing that he always said, because he always wants this dessert.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And okay, then Ana Camila, right? Or yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I would like to say that I don't think some of these examples really count as something stupid. I think the word that would describe them better would be ignorance.
Okay. And what would be then what would be then the difference between ignorance and stupidity? That's a very interesting remark. So,
Well, ignorance is lacking knowledge or information, while personally, I think stupidity is just behavior that shows a lack of good sense or judgment.
okay, well, all right, good clarification. All right, Gretel.
Well, I agree with Ana Camila
Mm-hmm.
about ignorance being not knowing and stupidity being knowing and not doing anything about it. And as you said about there's scientists that deny climate change, I think that's stupidity, because as using an example you gave us, you said scientists used to think, well, human beings used to think the earth was flat because scientists said so. And then we realized they were wrong. So also science is not the main well, not where knowledge is born from, and it's not always right.
Okay, now we had a very interesting question in the chat. Okay, can you put it again, because it erased? It was about the relationship of social media, impact of social media on stupidity. Because here we're talking, okay, so far we're talking about authorities. We're talking about scientists. We're talking about parental authorities. We're talking about doctors. We're talking about different kinds of authorities that impact our knowledge. And it could be knowledge, it could be stupidity, according to how we perceive it. We're not talking about how it is, but how we perceive it. Because, okay, like Nicola said, and like I said, okay, I really thought it was stupid when I heard it from a doctor, but I paid attention to my mother. Now I'm much older than you are. I know that right now authority is not as it is not as strong as it was in my time, because now you research things, you learn to do things that we didn't have the time to do. But here now, that's another thing that impacts all of you: social media. So what is the impact of social media on stupidity? Does it help to eradicate it or to perpetuate it? Okay, that's very interesting. Thank you, Ruben, because that's the main point here. Okay, Nicolas, and then Camille, Gretel. Okay.
Okay, I guess when you first think about social media, in my opinion, it's basically a catalyzer in the perpetration of stupidity. And when I think about it, I usually think like, yeah, there is a select amount of people who like to spread actual facts and information, something that can help people and help teens, adults, children who are on these apps using them. But then there's also the people who they like to spread misinformation just because of the fun of it, and because most of the time it's, and also referring to what Ana Camila had said, they're ignorant on topics and finding actual references and sites that, or just people in general, that are contradicting what they're saying, and they just say it like they say it either way. And let's say if that video gets popular, then people listen to it, they trust it, and in
Mhm.
the end they basically follow those ideals. And uh, yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay, it's Gretel.
Well, there's the confirmation bias, which is a cognitive bias, and we can talk about the bubble effect in that. I personally think social media is part of knowledge, and stupidity is what people pick to do with social media if it's the wrong decision. And well, of course, there's a well about knowing if you were wrong or right, but um, it's just the main idea of not knowing how to use the knowledge social media gives you.
Okay, but is it really social media if you have an algorithm that leads you to see what you want to see? Like you said, it's confirmation bias. How is that related to knowledge?
Because you get, well, the what you said about the algorithm that you take is you create your own algorithm when talking about social media.
Yes. Yes, you create your own. Well, it is not really. I know that I like Facebook, okay, and I'm a teacher, so I get a lot of I get a lot of posts of teachers. Why? Because if I like one, then it will give me more. But what about following someone that is very radical, and I'm going to be a little bit political, saying, okay, if you are following Islam, radical Islam, okay, what kind of knowledge do you get? Is it really knowledge? Think about how many people are influenced by that. Okay, it could be radical Islam or any radical movement. Not, it doesn't have to be Islamist. I'm saying Islam right now because it's affecting our world, and we talk about terrorists, and we talk about people being terrorists. But is it really that so, Gretel?
I'm sorry, but that's indoctrination. It's not.
I couldn't hear you. You
That's
okay.
indoctrination.
Okay, that's indoctrination, but that's part of the social media. Okay, you get that from social media. And sometimes, okay, I hope that all of you TOK students realize that it's indoctrination, but how many people don't and they think it's knowledge? Yes? Anybody here that wants to comment on that? Okay, Gretel, again.
Because of the confirmation bias I just mentioned, it's talking about not moving out of your bubble, and
Mhm.
that's what's happening with everything you're talking about, because it's you saying how we're not moving on from our own ideas even though they're wrong, and that's part of the confirmation bias, staying in our bubble.
Okay, but that leads to knowledge. That's my question, okay? Are we here talking about knowledge? Because sometimes if you move far away from that scenario, you can think that's knowledge and that's stupidity. But aren't they mixed all the time, Nicholas?
Well, I guess I want to relate to the term that Gretel had just said about the bubble. I personally, and relating to what you said about Islam, I personally lived in Oman, a country in the Middle East, for 7 years. I
Mm-hmm.
was pretty young. I guess I left when I was like 11. But I guess during that age, or during that time, I guess I found a new religion, and I wasn't, old enough to actually understand it, but I guess being there and being with people who aren't, in my same religion, it just, takes you out of the bubble, as Gretel has said, and gives you a different perspective on how things are working. Let's say social media says that all countries in the or close to the Saudi Arabia or Yemen, which is currently in war. All these places are bad because of one specific place in that area. And I guess, taking the time and investigating, visiting, and just finding someone who can actually talk about the places that are being how do you say this, that are being talked badly about, can
Mhm.
really help give you another perspective, and not fall into not fall into a well, I don't know how to say it in English, but into a bias, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Bias, it's bias. Yes, that's exactly what I meant when I said, okay, if I talk about Islam, it's not the same thing if you visited a country and you met with real people who are following Islam as it must be, and not radicals, not fundamentalists, because we have Christian fundamentalists, Muslim fundamentalists, Jewish fundamentalists, and we have also atheists that are fundamentalists. So the problem is fundamentalism. It's not religion, and it's not how you view religion. So that is why I was talking about social media, because social media harms all that, as I see it. Or can you see that it helps you get knowledge if you see every religion that you don't believe in as fundamentalist? Yes, Gretel?
I think that's a prejudice, and I think prejudices are stupid.
Well, can you elaborate a little bit more?
Because it's not based in evidence.
Okay, it's not based in evidence according to what? Because all fundamentalists cite either the Bible or the Quran or anything, that they cite, and they see it as evidence. So why not?
Because that's a perspective, and even though there's the difference in between wrong and right, there's also the chance of being human and being able to have a perspective.
Okay, then let's go back to the question about social media. How can we get knowledge from that instead of getting or being more stupid? Sorry for the remark. Elena, can you comment anything about it? Yes, does social media make you more knowledgeable or make you more stupid? Okay, if you want, okay, try to type something and I'll read it if you cannot answer, and I'll read it later on. Okay, Ana Camila?
To help answer the question, I would like to say that social media's role in relation to stupidity really depends on how individuals choose to engage with it. I think some of the people here had already said something among those words. For example, I think that social media often spreads misinformation and reinforces biases, which,
Mhm.
for one way, can promote stupidity. But on the other hand, social media can help fight ignorance and stupidity by providing access to vast amounts of information and other resources.
Okay, and how can we tell which social media is good and which social media is not? Okay, Santiago, and then let's go back to what I asked. Yeah?
I agree with Ana Camila because we can get some stupid things in some places on the social media, but if we research in the right way, we can get a lot of knowledge and knowledge acquisition.
Okay, the only thing here that doesn't make sense to me is how do you research in social media? Because we're not talking about internet, we're talking about social media. And maybe you and I have a different opinion of social media. When we're talking about social media, what I see is Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. So can you research on those sources? That's my question, Gretel. And then Nicholas.
Yes, I think you can research. There's doctors that have got accounts, there are philosophers that have got accounts. And I don't, well, the difference between social media and the content you watch in social media, I think it's really important to highlight because social media is just a tool and the content, well, there's a person behind the content that's popping on your phone. There's also the algorithm that you make. And if you're getting uh well in the wrong algorithm, then I think you're chasing it, and that's stupidity, chasing what you know is wrong. But I think you can get knowledge from social media because it is just a tool.
Okay. Yes, Nicholas?
Yeah, well, relating to what Gretel had said, personally on well, with my time with TikTok, whenever I wonder about something and I guess I'm too lazy to go into Safari, I just search it up directly and it will lead me. If it's something about medicine, I guess it will lead me directly to someone or an account that is an actual doctor and that is spreading and talking about actual facts. And another thing is that on TikTok, I don't know if everyone has it, but there's a For You page, a following page, and then there's a new page that's called STEM, which specifically is about or is for it's for just learning new stuff. Like if you go in, I guess you can see. Well, when I went in, I saw some problems about math, and also some things about biology and all that stuff.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. But really, again, I see you as TOK students, so you really research. Do all your classmates, do all the people that you know do the same thing as you are saying now? Like you, or like they see the things like you do? Okay. I would like to see if anybody else would see what you are seeing, or you have, or you have seen people with a lot of bias looking at that. What can you tell me about it? Okay? Because I know you're in the IB, you're in TOK, you research. Does everybody do the same thing in social media? Yes, girl?
Well, in the Mexican political selections, everyone was just looking at the content, the politician they were following. And I'm sorry, wait.
Okay. Yes, anybody else? All right, let's start wrapping up. Let's start wrapping up and let's go back to the question that says, to what extent can knowledge contribute both to overcoming of stupidity and to its perpetuation? So let's see, how can we wrap up and how can you, how can we come to a conclusion? Okay, what can we conclude about all the things that you're saying? Okay, and let me sum up a little bit. We talked about social media, we talked about extremism, we talked about all the problem of the terms, we talked about personal examples, we talked about authority. Okay, so let's start wrapping up. Okay, what can you getting out of discussing this and how can you answer the question? Because remember, in TOK, you have to answer the question. So, yes, Ana Camila?
To answer the question, personally, I think that knowledge can contribute to both overcoming human stupidity and perpetuating it depending on how it is applied. Human stupidity, which I think I already said I consider to be the willful disregard of important truths or acting against better judgment despite knowing the consequences, can be challenged using knowledge to empower individuals and societies to make better decisions. However, the misuse or neglect of knowledge can also reinforce this kind of willful ignorance that leads to flawed thinking and other harmful behaviors.
How can you apply to your personal life? How can you apply what you just said to a personal example? Well, it should, if anybody else wants to comment on it, you can give me a personal example because what Ana Camila just said is right. It's up to you. It's up to you if you continue being ignorant or stupid or you overcome it. So it's both sides, but I would like an example, okay? To see what you understand about it. Nicholas?
I'm sorry. Yeah, what was the question? Is it related to what Ana Camila said, or?
Yes, yes. Give me, okay, I would like a concrete example on that, on what Ana Camila just commented. Yes, Gretel?
I will retake the thing I was saying about political following and social media in Mexico while the political selections were happening. And I think stupidity is just knowing you can't get the knowledge of two perspectives and with information to back it up behind it and not wanting to.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and also you're talking about political issues, okay? If you are in favor of the official government, then you will get a lot of things in social media that relate to that. And if you are not in favor, you will get the other side. But the thing is, you need to see both sides. So that's important. If not, really, stupidity is winning because you just see what you want to see. Okay, is that the case in other areas as a part of politics or a part of medicine or any? Can you think of another example? Okay, think of other contexts. Okay, Aaron, where is your school located? Where is your school located? I know it's called Navajo, but where is it?
It's located near the Four Corners area of New Mexico.
Okay, so you're in New Mexico, so you are more familiar with the border with Mexico, right? Okay, so you I don't know if you have many friends that are Mexican or not.
I not really. I mean, my school is majority Navajos, Navajo kids who grew up on the Navajo reservation, and we actually live on a boarding school. And there's not much opportunity for us to actually go and meet new people.
Okay, so what you know about Mexico is what you hear in the media, right? And the same thing happens with people who don't know about New Mexico and about your culture, right? So the interaction of all those cultures makes you different from the rest of your classmates because you can understand better how the world is composed. So living in that environment gives you an opportunity to know your culture and to live your culture, but you also need to go out of that environment. And these, for example, these interactions are a chance to meet people from different backgrounds. And the same thing is what Nicholas said about living in different countries. Okay, I understood that you were born in the States, then you lived also in Muslim countries, and now you live in Colombia. So your background is very different from a person that only lived in one place, right? Or that only, for instance, I live in the northeastern part of Mexico, and Santiago lives in the southeastern part of Mexico, right? Then are we in the same country? And for instance, Gretel lives in the center of Mexico. So, okay. And also Elena and Ana Camila live in the center. So, because they live not so far away from each other, are they living the same cultures and everything? So, this is something that we need to understand about knowledge and how it relates to us. Does that make sense or no? You're awfully quiet. Are you understanding what I'm saying? If not, please help me clarify it to you. Yes, Elena?
I think that we're getting a little, maybe a bit off road of what the question was asking. Because yes, even Gretel, Anna, and I, we live in the center of Mexico. We don't have the same cultures, but I think that, or the same traditions even. And I think that's maybe another question, which was, there was a question before about indigenous knowledge. And for example, Anna and I, we have the Huastecan culture, but I think that's another topic. And to kind of go back a bit on the question, I think with what Anna and Gretel said, that it can both eradicate stupidity and both perpetuate it. For me, stupidity is someone like having knowledge of something and then using that knowledge for their own benefit instead of benefit for everyone. For example, I don't know, the nuclear physics studies and all that knowledge, it helped with a lot of clean energies, but that same knowledge was used to create the atomic bombs that were released
Mm-hmm.
in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Um, but it really depends on, that's very much what the person wants to do with that knowledge. If they want to be stupid and use it for their own good instead of being, I don't know, instead of sharing it and and sharing what the correct thing is instead of just using that and keeping it to themselves and taking advantage of that knowledge and using it for their own profit.
Okay, that's very interesting, and that's what I tried to clarify when I told you that we're from different parts of the world or from different parts of the same country. But okay, you see it as stupid because you're outside of that range. If you were inside and you would be using it for your own benefit, would you say it was stupid? Because and that's a question, okay? It all depends how you see it, okay? If you're not in your bubble and you see it from the outside, of course you say that's stupid because they are using it for the wrong reasons. But if you're in the inside, how much do you understand this is stupid? Okay, Nicholas, you wanted to add something, right? Maybe not what I asked, but yes.
Well, I guess what I want to talk about is directly related to the question. And I did get some help on perspective from my TOK teacher, but basically, what we know as knowledge is what we understand as systematic learning. And well, in relation to that, I guess when you look at it from, let's say, math, we learn, or well, before well, the people actually discovering math, they didn't have these formulas that we have today. Let's say the quadratic formula. We use these formulas and we learn them to just find this problem situation and use it directly to answer the question that we need in the problem. But sometimes this this formula is maybe or it can be considered as a type of limiter to what we can understand and know, because I guess we're limiting ourselves to what we are learning and what people are
Mhm.
teaching us. Well, and if you take into effect that philosophers from history, they didn't have these limiters and were actually able to, or had to, go step by step, understanding how things worked and what you need to do to be able to solve whatever situation you're in is. And I want to relate that directly to stupidity, because, well, as I said before, stupidity comes from the lack of common sense. And if you relate that to what I just said, that you, well, this type of new learning system that the generations been taught have been taught, it limits them to this level of not being able to go further or past what we are being told. And I guess it just, yeah, it limits us.
Okay, very good. Okay, the only thing that I would disagree with you is that we learn everything and that knowledge is only the things that they teach you, because also we have knowledge, experiential knowledge, and experience is very important. Okay, you don't go and touch the fire because you know you will get burned. That was experience. So there are things that are important in both ways, yes. And Gretel, and then we're going to wrap up because I think it's already time. Yes, Gretel.
Well, I want to add up to what Elena said and also what Nicholas said. And I want to use the example of the myth, well, the caves myth, that's about like how we can always access knowledge, but then we have the ethical responsibility of communicating the knowledge we get. And also
Yes.
about what Elena said, I think we, well, the intellectual egoism, which is what I explained and what I introduced at the beginning, is having the knowledge but not wanting to share it. But I think stupidity is having the knowledge but not wanting to use it whatsoever, not
Mhm.
wanting to share it. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Okay. Now, we ran out of time, so I'm going to wrap up, and I want every one of you to tell me what did you learn about this conversation. So I'm going to go by the order I see you. So, Erin, you start, then Santiago, then Elena, then Ana Camila, Guero, and then the last one, Nicholas. Okay,
Um,
Erin?
I I learned that it's like stupidity isn't just like an insult that people end up using he- here and there throughout the day just simply to use it and insult people, but it can also have a deeper meaning that leads to ignorance and misunderstandings, and that you can actually learn from stupidity, and that you have to also be aware of where you gain your knowledge, because sometimes when knowledge comes from stupidity, it's like it can be from like cultural settings, or it can be from simple teachings from your parents or another authoritative figure, and like and those and you have to be aware, and at a certain point it's just basically how you perceive it and how you choose to implement that newfound knowledge into your life that can um, help you like help you move on from stupidity. So yeah.
Mhm. Thank you. Great ideas. Okay, Santiago.
Well, I learned that we can see the stupidity from many points of view, and that the knowledge needs the stupidity to exist, or they need each other. that, because we need to the stupidity to have knowledge, and we choose how to use that knowledge or to be stupidity.
Okay, thank you very much. Elena?
I think that what I got from all of this was that there are different views of what stupidity is, and the common use for the word is to insult kind of someone that doesn't know something. And that I think that's just ignorance, and we have to separate stupidity from that. And also, I think that the question had a bunch of greater implications instead of just knowledge and what stupidity is. Like Gretel said, there's also your ethical choice to share the knowledge or keep it. But I think that this question's a very difficult and broad one because you can't just answer it concretely. I think that there are different points of views, and I think every one of them is important.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Ana Camila?
I would like to say that by the end of this talk, I realized something that I hadn't before, which is that knowledge and stupidity can be connected since stupidity can both hinder to both the contribution to the acquisition of knowledge, and knowledge has the power to kind of eliminate ignorance, and it doesn't always prevent people from making poor choices.
Mhm. Exactly. Very, very good comment. Okay, Gretel?
I think I learned that we have to question ourselves every day in order to, well, finish with stupidity. We have to think to ourselves, when are we being stupid? And how can we stop being stupid? And I think the main, the moment we are the most stupid is when we think we know better, even though we're not sure if we do.
Good. Good. I would ask you something that I don't want you to reply, but can we get rid of stupidity that easily? Just just think about it later on and maybe discuss it with your classmates. Nicholas?
Okay, well, I guess my takeaway from this is that, um, answering a question this broad, as Elena had said, it's difficult, and having different perspectives and point of views is necessary. And, meetings like this, where you gather people from different parts of the world, is something really important and should be done more. And in these cases of answering questions which take into account different really important factors, well, in this case knowledge and stupidity. And well, in the case of that, in the question, I think I've been able to understand a lot more about how it can and cannot, well, how it can be connected and how it cannot be connected. And I guess that just it's really like opened my mind about it. So
Okay, thank you very much. And just one last remark for all of you. Just think always that you need scientific or historical examples, but you also need your own experience to clarify things. That is very important. Okay, so take into account both things, and thank you for sharing all your ideas. I don't know if you learned from this dialogue, but I learned a lot from you, and I congratulate all your teachers for the well prepared you were. Okay, so thank you very much, and let's hope to see you in the future in other context or in a context like this. Okay, goodbye everyone, and think about all the differences and all the similarities that we all have. Okay, so goodbye and enjoy the rest of the day.
bye, thank
Okay,
you.
bye.